There's Paul, and there's Sylvia.
Wow. Hiya, Joe. Hiya, Sylvia. Wait.
She's just connecting her audio. We just have to give her a minute to do so. Maybe I'll send her a quick text.
Great.
Oh, there we go. Sylvia.
Hey.
Hiya, Sylvia. How are you, mate?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Well, I'm doing absolutely. I'm so happy that you were able to join us, Sylvia. It was a real highlight when I realized you were coming. And the second highlight, when we looked at the great schedule, was when I realized that the great man Joe had put me to hosting you. So it's a double treat for me.
Look at all those critters behind you.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah.
Being like most of the planet and being a semi-professional Zoomer, I've bought a green screen.
Well, I've got the blue behind me.
Yeah, it's the right one. It's the right one for you, Sylvia. I'm going to make a bit of a public introduction, but we know each other very well. And I've got, for those of you watching and listening, I'm with Sylvia Earle, marine biologist, as most of you must know, National Geographic Explorer since 1998, the first female chief scientist of NOAA, Time magazine's first hero for the planet in 1988, Ocean Elders, Mission Blue, just the name, Sylvia Earle.
Don't forget Sturgeon General.
Sturgeon General, yes, Sturgeon General, and known to most of us as Her Deepness, which is a beautiful, respectful, and classic Sylvia. It's a fun term, I must say. Sylvia, I've been fortunate to be with you at many events. Sadly, you and I have not been wet or deep together, but I know we can fix that in the near future.
I think we were in the rain together once.
Yes, we were in the rain together, close enough. And I was very happy and delighted to be at the Royal Geographical Society when you received your gold medal. And I remember us both speaking together in the House of Commons, the Houses of Parliament on ocean matters too, which was great fun. Well, Sylvia, these time slots are pretty short, so I think I've got here the computer with your questions coming in. You won't be surprised. You haven't said anything yet. There's a ton of questions. So if I can leave it over to you to present, and then when you're share your screen now so we can all see it. And when you're done, if you don't mind just unsharing screen, and you and me will be back together. Is that all right?
Sure. Yeah. Good idea.
Fantastic. Okay. Over to you. Everybody, Sylvia Earle, Her Deepness.
Thank you for that generous introduction. I will speak shortly, and I really look forward to hearing thoughts from around the world, those who are tuning in. I think the major message that I have is one that's probably already been firmly established, that in speaking about biodiversity, the action is mostly ocean. It's where most of the water is. It's where on the order of 99% of the biosphere actually is. So it's no wonder that that's where the greatest diversity is. Now, in terms of species, we're terrestrial. We've explored much of the land, most of the land, I suppose you could say. And we have yet to explore most of the ocean. And there is great diversity in some categories of life on the land, insects in particular. So when you look at the splintery ends of diversity that we call species, based on what we now know, more species have been described from the land, but considering how much of the ocean we do not yet know, and that most of the ocean is deep, and that's the least explored part of the ocean, I think the jury's still out. How many species are there? Where on Earth? I'd place the odds on the ocean ultimately being where the action truly is. But we do know that the major divisions of life essentially are all out there in the ocean, either in current existing form or in the fossil record. And only about half have representation on the land in any form. So no matter how you slice it, it's the ocean. And it's the ocean that makes all the rest of life on Earth possible. If you doubt that, take the ocean away, what have you got? A planet a lot like Mars, or maybe the moon. Not a very friendly or hospitable place for life, at least life as we know it. We also know that we haven't done a good job of calculating the loss of life in the sea. We're better equipped to look at the loss of diversity on the land. We know more about it in the first place. At the same time that we're taking action to try to protect what remains of the wild on the land, not nearly good enough to do what needs to be done, but still the awareness that maybe we are the last generation to be able to save species that we know about and care about on the land. I mean, it's sad, but it's true. If we don't save the elephants, who will? It's going to happen on our watch, or we'll lose the chance. But it's also true in the ocean. It's just less obvious. We're still eating a lot of bluefin tuna, and their numbers are as perilously low as many of the treasured creatures that we value on the land. And the latest numbers that I trust about bluefin tuna in the Pacific, for example, it's, about 2% remain of bluefin tuna from the time when I was an aspiring young biologist in the middle of the 20th century. The loss of species in the ocean, when you blow up a coral reef, or when you see the devastation caused in vibrant, diverse ecosystems such as coral reefs, kelp forests, even sandy places are rich with life. We don't know what we've lost because we haven't yet explored it. But based on what we do know of the diversity and the endemism within coral reefs globally, the numbers, we just need to catch our breath and think, why are we letting this happen on our watch, in our time? We're the last ones who may be able to embrace the diversity of life on the land and in the sea with sufficient care to ensure that we've got the ingredients to have resilience on the planet going forward. All right, enough of this. I really want to hear from you. I'd much rather respond to thoughts that you have than be a talking head and tell you what I think. So, can we go for it? Where did you go, oh fearless leader? We need to get back to seeing you as well as me. Where are you? What have I done? Oh, I'm screen sharing, yes, but why can't I see you and hear you? I've lost you.
I'm here, Sylvia.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, great. Okay, we're ready for you. You go ahead. I think you're sharing your screen now. Is that right, your presentation?
I think so. I can see you.
Great. Do you have a presentation to share, Sylvia? No.
No, I just want to hear from the...
Great. Okay, that's even better.
To...
That's even better. Just hang on a second. If you go back to stop sharing screen, then there's a button there for stopping to share your screen, if you don't mind.
There we are.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I assume there might be a presentation, but this is even so much better. Sylvia, that's wonderful. You can't go wrong. I love this moment. You're telling us quite rightly that we're talking biodiversity, but most of it is wet. Most of the biodiversity is in the ocean itself.
Correct.
And it's something that we've been at this for 3 days now. And just before we started this, I gave a lecture at the Royal Geographical Society, a Monday night lecture, the system you know so well. And we all spoke of the celebration that we're having, that we're all on the front page of newspapers. We're headlines now, where even the not very good newspapers are saying our relationship with nature is out of balance And the only true vaccine to prevent further pandemics is to look after nature. And they're all, in their own words, pushing the 3 steps. You know, we must protect what we have, restore what's been damaged, and reset our values so we don't do it again. So I think it feels to me a celebratory moment of awareness, but no one out of all these seemingly half of humanity I've been speaking to has just told us that most of the planet's biodiversity is in the ocean. We all sort of know the facts, but it's a lovely framework to put it in. Sylvia,
Well,
absolutely love that.
Paul, it's also a reality that most of the viruses on the planet are in the ocean. It's where most of the microbes are. I mean, we're loaded with microbes ourselves. Glory be, we couldn't exist without them. And we probably could not exist without viruses either. Most of them, 99.9999%, are what makes the planet function. They invade bacteria. Many of them are commensal with bacteria. Many viruses are commensal with other forms of life. We have somehow demonized bacteria, both bacteria and viruses, because a very small number think that we're just right for lunch, and we are their host. Viruses cannot exist on their own. They need a host in order to reproduce. And those that have found us delicious are really problems. We're experiencing one right now on a mega scale. But it's our fault. This is not normal. Well, what's not normal is that there's a species that has become universal around the world. We are a setup for an organism that might like the taste of human beings. I mean, the fact that we've become global in our population and that we're connected. I mean, the good news is we're connected. We have a chance now to look at what we now know and take action based on knowledge that we have that could not exist, did not exist, could not exist until right about now. We're armed with that most powerful superpower of all, knowledge. We need to know a lot more, but we are able to see what no other creature on the planet can see, or even our own species. Go back 50 years, we could not handle the current situation with the capacity that we now have, because now we know what we couldn't know before. So I think we're armed, and what we need to now do is take that knowledge and act on it. And protecting nature is absolutely the giant first step towards securing health, not just for the planet, but health for us. It's so logical. Spock would agree.
Yeah, and your insights are wonderful as ever, Sylvia. And we have to think that human health is a great motivator. If some people don't get, biodiversity for what it is, or feel that we're separate from nature, or all these other natural elements that you and I work alongside, even if they don't get them for some reason, everybody gets human health. And I love the idea that we're now realizing that we, as you say, we're all connected. You know, our personal health is reliant on everybody else's health, and their health is in turn reliant on nature. And it's this sort of very positive language that we're now seeing as headlines in the newspapers, plus, as you say, the awareness that we're very capable, that gives us all hope. And thinking of hope, the first question in for you has the word hope in it. There's a surprise. It says, Sylvia, do you have a favorite hope spot?
Yes, it's called the ocean. All of it.
Wonderful.
I mean, through Mission Blue, and you're doing it as well with the pristine seas, to identify critically important areas and doing the utmost to encourage protection for those areas, full protection. That's what really works. engaging communities, engaging leaders, engaging everyone everywhere to embrace the nature on the land. Of course, national parks have done a lot to remind us of the importance of protecting wild places. I mean, really protecting them. In national parks, we have a policy, generally speaking, of not cutting the trees or killing the birds or, shooting the bears in national parks. In the ocean, a lot of places we call parks, we still kill the fish, we still take the lobsters. We we think of wildlife in the ocean is somehow not the same. We don't accord the same respect. We call it seafood instead of sea life. It's wildlife. And we need to think differently about biodiversity in the ocean and treat it with respect that it is really due. I mean, if we continue to do to the fish what we're doing to the fish, we're going to, well, we already have changed the chemistry of the planet by depleting the ocean of significant amounts of the wildlife there. We've done the same on the land by depleting the birds. The birds used to, in giant flocks, course across the skies and leave nutrients in their wake. And the soil benefited, and we benefited. With a reduction in birds, although we still have a fair number, not nearly what was around when I was a kid, let alone when my parents were kids or my grandparents were kids, we've seen the die-off owing to our displacement of them and our deliberate killing of wildlife on the land. But it pales compared to what we've done just in the last 50 years to the ocean. We are so good at killing and catching and killing and consuming on an industrial scale ocean wildlife. We've got to take seriously the importance of wildlife in the sea, which equals biodiversity. What are we thinking? We need to think differently about what we consume from the sea. It's not so much, Paul, and all of the rest of you who are asking about hope for the ocean. It's not about food security. It's about food choice. We talk ourselves into thinking we've got to have fish from the sea to feed gazillions of people. No, we need fish from the sea to feed some people who have few choices, but who needs to eat bluefin tuna in Chicago or San Francisco or London or most of the places on the planet where most of the bluefin and tuna go, or all the other ocean wildlife that we think of as seafood. We just have to get our head on straight. It's, the ocean needs the fish alive a whole lot more than we do. And we need a healthy ocean. A healthy ocean needs healthy populations of the wild creatures that we're just slaughtering on a scale that is, there's nothing comparable to what we've done on the land to what we're doing to the ocean in the 21st century. Yeah. Industrial killing of wildlife, justifying on the basis of seafood. Oh, okay. Maybe make that last bite of tuna your last and say, okay, I'm giving back to my health by giving back to the health of the ocean by letting those wild creatures do what they do best, which is swim.
Fantastic, Sylvia. I mean, as always, it's sometimes not just what you say, it's the way you say it. And it just captures the imagination. And hopefully, fingers crossed here, it helps lead to even more action.
Let's get another question.
I've got a question here from a young one.
Okay, good.
Which you must have been asked before. Do you have advice for young women starting out in conservation?
The advice I have would apply is gender neutral, whoever you are. Girls, boys, tall, short, old, young, whatever. Wherever you live, whatever you do. Don't get discouraged because people tell you you can't do that, you shouldn't do that, you mustn't do that. You can't make a living doing that. Look, if it's what's in your heart that this is what you love, go for it. Be the very best you can be at that thing that makes your heart sing. For me, it was always about critters. I love plants and animals. I lived on a little farm in New Jersey, went to the Jersey Shore when I was 3 years old, got knocked over by a wave. The ocean got my attention, but it's life in the ocean that entranced me and held my attention. It's what I can't not do it. It's who I am. If that's your passion, or if it's music, or if it's art, or if it's whatever it is, don't let somebody tell you or cut off your enthusiasm because they say you can't do that or you mustn't do that. You're a girl. You shouldn't be doing that. Find a way to show them, or not because you're trying to show them, but just because it's for you. You've got a life. You spend those minutes, hours, days, weeks, years as the most precious thing you've got. And I think if science is your thing, never turn your back on nature. Go and do what kids normally do. Ask questions: who, what, why, where, when, how. Observe carefully, report honestly what you see. That's what scientists do. And even if you turn out to be a lawyer or a musician or a teacher, whatever it is, observe carefully the world around you. Report honestly what you see. Listen to those you trust who also observe carefully, report honestly. Look at the evidence and have a great life.
Yeah. Fantastic, Sylvia. The great thing is so everyone knows, these presentations and interviews are being recorded, so they live permanently. So you can refer back to Sylvia's wise words and guidance. And Sylvia, one from me, as you know, a fair bit of conservation these days is based on the ecotourism model. Now, in this COVID-19 crisis that we're in, a lot of tourism isn't happening, and that means that some communities are struggling. They're bumping along the bottom, just getting by, and that exposes some of the regions that they're trying to protect. So I feel long-term very optimistic about all that. I know we're going to find solutions and get back to it. But what could be done short-term to help these things, sort of immediately, like now? I keep thinking, I asked Marco Lambertini yesterday, the Director General of WWF, is could we set up some sort of immediate care fund, like we have disaster aid, where somehow if we were going to go to the gorillas this year and spend $3,000, we're not going to the gorillas this year, and if we're not too affected by COVID and we've still got money, the $400 or $500 that would have gone to that community from the $3,000 I would have spent, is there a way of sending that directly through the right organizations to the right people on the ground, to keep them going, to keep the game wardens, to keep the, all the right people going? And he said a great thing at the end of the interview. He said, I'm going to get a hold of my colleagues and see if it can be done. So what do you think? Doesn't it feel that there must be a way of, immediate care for the things we really care about?
I hadn't thought about that as a bridge to the future, but I think it really has great merit.
Okay.
I do. Because we call it tourism. I call it education. I think it's the best way for people to get out of their, wherever it is that they are, whoever it is they are, to see the world. I mean, the 21st century, it's never been a better time, but at least this time last year, to be able to, by whatever means, on the ground, in the air, by sea, to realize that we are all connected. We now have this 2x4 striking us. We are all connected by a virus, and we all have a common problem. It doesn't matter who's to blame, and we should not play the blame game. We should look at, how do we solve this problem together? Come on, we can, but we can't just try to excuse ourselves by pointing fingers. We need to point our fingers at ourselves and saying, what can I do working with others to learn from this and get to a better place? And we have to hurry, because
Fantastic,
there are other viruses, other things, other pandemics somewhere in the wings. This has been predicted anyway. In a way, hitting the pause button, as we are doing globally, is a time of reflection and to value the experiences that we've had and those that we will have. I mean, I have taken time that I've longed for to vicariously travel. All those great films like Blue Planet 2, or all the National Geographic films that have been piling up. I'm going to get to it. I want to go look at those films, but now I am. And I wonder if some of the tourist destinations could use this time to celebrate what they've got and use the new means of communicating to tell people, here is what we have in the Galapagos Islands. Here are the beautiful natural systems, and we in the Seychelles. Come and share with us vicariously now, but soon you'll be able to come and do it personally. And meanwhile, maybe you can help us out by contributing to whatever fund might be the most helpful in this time of crisis.
Great stuff, Sylvia. And that's perfect, because the question popped up and it says, you normally spend most of your time on the road educating others. What are you doing with your time at home besides feeding the rooster that we can hear?
Oh, you hear Michelangelo or Miguel or Mike. He has many names. Well, for one thing, I'm actually deeply engaged in writing a book for the National Geographic about the ocean. I am in the home stretch. It will be released at the end of 2021 as National Geographic launches the Big Year of the Ocean 2022. It's not a year, it's just an ongoing process of celebrating nature, conservation, exploration, education. But this book has consumed me for the better part of this past year. So while I wouldn't wish for an excuse to really stay home and dive into the manuscript, that's actually what I'm doing. And also really communicating like this, and listening. I've had some incredible opportunities and experiences as people are really taking advantage of the new ways of communicating globally with there's 7 billion minds out there. 7 billion people present a lot of problems, but the good news is we've got 7 billion minds connected as never before, sharing what they know, sharing solutions, sharing concepts like you just shared with me, how we can help this amazingly important industry of tourism to get people out and about. Well, let's drill down. Let's share what we know about these places and inspire people to know, at least vicariously, so that when the time comes when the gates to the ocean open again and to other places, we can go and really dive in and explore.
Well, Sylvia, sadly, our time is coming to a close. We've got 60 plus countries live at the moment. And we hit this morning 60,000 viewers, 60,000 people watching at various times. So the numbers are huge. And since you've come on, no doubt, there's no question they've gone up. Have you got any final words for us, please?
Yes. This year in particular, we're looking at deep sea mining, the high seas, critical issues, decisions will be made about biodiversity on the high seas. Why can we not take this moment in time and be really thoughtful about scaling up protection, about putting a 10-year moratorium on extracting minerals from the high seas while we figure out what's really down there, the highest use of life in the ocean, whether it's fish or the bacteria and archaea associated with manganese nodules in the deep sea or crusts around hydrothermal vents. It may be that they're there, that they're alive, that the greatest thing that we extract from the ocean is our existence. We need to give back to the ocean and take care of the natural world, land and sea, wherever it is, as if our lives depend on it, because they do.
Sylvia, thank you.
That's my message.
It's so great to see you again. And no doubt, with a little bit of luck, we'll be together very soon. Probably, if not in the water or, you know, diving or in the rain somewhere, no doubt it'll be at some conference or something. But let's work hard to get in the sea together. See you then. Thanks, Sylvia.